Have you ever been in a courtroom watching a trial where now there's an elephant in the room? No, not a real elephant. I'm talking about a virtual elephant where there's something so obvious except some of the people in the courtroom don't know about it. You haven't seen that? Come join me for a few moments as I share with you some great information and I explain to you exactly what it means to have an elephant in the room. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury trial lawyer practicing law here in the state of New York. My good friend Mitch Jackson, a famous trial attorney out in California, raised this subject recently, and now I want to add to this conversation. And let me give you a perfect example of what I mean when I say that there's an elephant in the room. The defense attorney and myself know that there's something about my client or about his client that the jury doesn't know about. It's something so obvious between us because we've been handling this case for many years. But guess what? The jury doesn't know about it yet. So how do we broach this subject? How do we broach the elephant in the room that's so clear-cut and obvious that we've told the judge about, but now the people who really need to know this don't know it yet? Well, let me share with you exactly how we do this. One of the key ways in doing that, when there's something so obvious, let's say criminal background in my client's history, that's got absolutely nothing to do with the claims that he's making in this case, whether it's a medical malpractice case or a car accident case, or, God forbid, a wrongful death case. Now, yes, his criminal history is important for the jury to understand. But now what's going to happen is if I don't mention it, if I ignore it, if I don't bring it up, you know what's going to happen during opening arguments? The defense attorney is going to turn to the jury and say, ladies and gentlemen, there's something you have to know about Mr. Oginski's client. He's a liar. He's a convicted felon. Did you know that? Oh, you didn't know that? You mean Mr. Oginski didn't tell you about that? How could he not tell you about it? And now he's going to make a big stink about this. And now, I'm on the receiving end of this. Why? Because it looks like I've tried to hide something. And the moment the jury thinks I'm trying to hide something, we lose all credibility whatsoever. So how do we deal with the big elephant in the room, the big albatross that we have? My client has a big albatross. He's got something that he needs to get out to the jury. Now, I will tell you, I will share something very important with you. When I have something this significant that I need to tell the jury about, I'm going to do this first in jury selection. I'm going to come right out to the jury, the potential jurors, while we're trying to pick a jury, and say, ladies and gentlemen, my client did something he's not proud of. And now I'm going to briefly explain to them the fact that he has a criminal history. And I'm going to ask each one of them, is that going to affect your decision on whether or not the doctor violated the basic standards of care only 1 year ago? And I have to get them to commit and tell me whether or not it's going to affect them. Only after they have told me that it's not going to affect them, now they have some hint of what went on. But they don't know exactly what happened. They don't know the full extent of it. Now, during opening arguments, I'm going to get up in front of the jury, and now I'm going to do something really important. And it's something you don't often see in the movies or on TV. I'm going to turn to the jury, and I'm going to tell them, ladies and gentlemen, I have a confession to make. I have to tell you something dramatic about my client. My client did something horrible 20 years ago. And now I'm going to tell the jury what he did. I'm going to tell the jury that he spent 5 years in jail. Why do I do that? I do that because I want to be the first one to tell them. I don't want there to be any secrets so that the defense attorney now gets up and says, Mr. Oginski is hiding something from you. Well, in reality, I'm not. I'm confessing, I'm acknowledging, I'm recognizing that there's something so obvious. I want to be totally straightforward with the jury. And why do I do that? For clear psychological reasons, I'm putting all our cards out on the table and getting them to understand that what happened in my client's past has absolutely nothing to do with the claims that we're making in this case. The elephant in the room is something that's so obvious that should be broached. And yes, as a plaintiff's attorney representing injured victims, it is something I want to address first. I want to be the first one to tell them about it. I want the jury to understand from me that my client has something in his history that they need to know about it. I don't want it to come from the defense attorney and think that if I ignore it, it's all going to go away, because you know what? It certainly won't. So now I just want to thank my good friend from California, Mitch Jackson, an excellent trial attorney, for raising this issue, to raise an awareness of people who are going into these cases now having a better understanding of what this means, to give them an insight and a true understanding of what the elephant in the room really means. You know, I realize you're watching this because you have questions or concerns about your own particular matter. Well, if your matter did happen here in New York and you do have legal questions, what I encourage you to do is pick up the phone and call me. And by the way, if your matter happened in California, I encourage you to call my good friend Mitch Jackson, an excellent trial attorney. So now, if you want to reach me, you can do that at 516-487-8207 or by email at Gerry, Gerry, at oginski-law.com. That's it for today's quick video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a wonderful day.